What if I told you that the most repulsive beverage ever created has saved more lives than any medicine in human history? Pirates accidentally invented this stomach-churning liquid out of pure desperation, not knowing they just cracked a code that would revolutionize survival itself. But why does it work? You know what's funny? We spend our whole lives thinking pirates were just drunken sailors stumbling around ships with bottles of rum. Well, they were drunk most of the time, but there was actually a brilliant method to their madness. Meet grog, the most disgusting drink that ever saved a life. And trust me, it saved thousands. The British Royal Navy created this concoction around 1740, and it spread to pirate ships faster than gossip at a church social. Picture this: stale water that's been sitting in wooden barrels for months, mixed with rum, lime juice, and a bit of sugar. Sounds appetizing, right? About as appetizing as my wife's first attempt at cooking. But here's the thing: pirates weren't mixing this stuff because they enjoyed the taste. They were trying to survive. The water on ships was absolutely revolting after a few weeks at sea. We're talking green, slimy, bacteria-filled liquid that would make a modern health inspector faint. Fresh water? That was rarer than an honest politician. So what do you do when your only drinking option could kill you faster than a cannonball? You add alcohol, lots of it. The rum and grog wasn't just for getting tipsy, it was nature's disinfectant. That alcohol killed the nasty bacteria swimming around in their water supply like uninvited guests at a wedding. Smart, isn't it? These supposedly uneducated pirates figured out germ theory centuries before doctors did. Then there's the lime juice. Pirates didn't add it for the tangy flavor, though it definitely made the whole mess more bearable. They discovered something that stumped medical experts for decades: citrus prevents scurvy. This horrible disease would literally make your teeth fall out and your old wounds reopen. Imagine trying to swing from ropes when your gums are bleeding and your legs feel like jelly. The Caribbean islands provided endless supplies of rum, making it cheaper than decent water most of the time. Pirates would fill massive barrels right there on deck, mixing their daily rations like bartenders from hell. Each crew member got their portion served up in a communal cup, because apparently sharing germs was the least of their worries. Sugar helped mask the bitter medicinal taste of this survival cocktail. Without it, drinking grog was like chugging cough syrup mixed with seawater. The whole process was disgusting, sure, but it kept crews alive long enough to terrorize merchant ships and bury treasure. These pirates stumbled onto a medical breakthrough while just trying to avoid dying from bad water. What's even more remarkable is how other pirate drinks built on this foundation of survival-based mixology. Some got creative with ingredients that would make your stomach turn, while others discovered flavors that actually made the harsh life at sea somewhat bearable. But that's where things get interesting, because pirates weren't content with just surviving their drinks. While grog kept pirates alive, it still tasted like medicine mixed with regret. Pirates wanted something that didn't make them wince with every sip. Enter bamboo, the drink that actually made sailors look forward to their daily ration. Think of bamboo as grog's sweeter, more popular cousin who went to college and learned some manners. Pirates mixed rum with water, sugar, nutmeg, and whatever exotic spices they could get their hands on during port stops. The result? A drink that didn't punish your taste buds for trying to stay hydrated. But here's where it gets interesting. Pirates didn't just throw these ingredients together and hope for the best. They made bamboo in small, careful batches, usually when they hit Caribbean ports where fresh spices were abundant. Smart pirates knew that a crew with something decent to drink was a crew less likely to mutiny over the captain's questionable navigation skills. The real genius behind bamboo wasn't just the taste, though that was a massive improvement over grog's harsh bite. The sweetness completely masked the flavor of brackish water that had been sitting in wooden barrels for weeks. You know that metallic taste you get from leaving water in a bottle too long? Multiply that by 50. Add some wood chips and barrel slime, and you've got pirate drinking water. Bamboo made it bearable. Then there's the preservation angle that most people miss entirely. Those spices weren't just for show. Nutmeg and other aromatic additions actually help mask the early signs of spoilage. When your drink starts going bad at sea, you can't exactly run to the corner store for a replacement. The spices bought pirates precious extra days before their beverages turned into something that belonged in a science experiment. Well, bamboo served another crucial purpose that kept ships running smoothly. This wasn't just daily sustenance, it was celebration fuel. When pirates successfully raided a merchant vessel or survived a particularly nasty storm, out came the bamboo. Nothing boosts crew morale quite like a drink that doesn't taste like punishment for being born. The psychology here is fascinating. Pirates face constant danger, terrible living conditions, and the very real possibility of dying horribly at sea. Having something genuinely pleasant to drink, not just tolerable, but actually enjoyable, gave them a small daily victory. It's like finding a $20 bill in an old coat pocket, except it happened every time they took a sip. Pirates became surprisingly sophisticated in their bamboo preparation, experimenting with local ingredients wherever they landed. Cinnamon from one island, allspice from another, sometimes even vanilla when they got really lucky with their raids, but even bamboo couldn't satisfy every pirate's desire for something truly memorable. Some captains demanded drinks that matched their larger-than-life reputations, concoctions so intense they bordered on dangerous. Now we're getting into the truly bizarre territory of pirate beverages. Hornswaggler's hooch wasn't your everyday drink. This was liquid courage with a side of potential blindness. What made this concoction so dangerous? Pirates would take their high-proof rum and literally mix it with gunpowder. Yes, the same stuff they used to blow holes in merchant ships. The result was a drink that could probably strip paint off a ship's hull. Most sailors couldn't even finish a cup without questioning their life choices. But here's where it gets interesting. This wasn't some random act of pirate stupidity. Well, not entirely. The captains knew exactly what they were doing when they broke out the Hornswaggler's hooch. This drink served as the ultimate test of courage before dangerous raids, or more grimly, as a final drink before executions. The preparation was theatrical, almost ceremonial. Pirates would gather on deck while someone, usually the bravest or most foolish crew member, mixed the deadly combination. They'd pour the rum slowly, add the gunpowder with dramatic flair, and stir it with a cutlass. The mixture would turn an ominous dark color, like liquid trouble. Here's the weird part, though. Despite being nearly undrinkable, Hornswaggler's hooch accidentally provided some medical benefits. That incredibly high alcohol content, it could sterilize wounds in emergencies. Sure, it hurt worse than getting stabbed by a sword, but it prevented infections that could kill a pirate faster than any enemy cannon. The drink was more legend than regular fare, which probably saved many pirate livers from permanent damage. Most crews only saw it during special occasions, and by special, I mean terrifying. New crew members might be forced to drink it as an initiation. Seasoned pirates used it to prove their toughness before particularly dangerous battles. Think of it like the Ghost Pepper Challenge of the 1700s, except instead of internet fame, you got bragging rights and possible alcohol poisoning. The few pirates who could actually finish a full cup became instant legends among their crew. They probably also became instant patients, but that's beside the point. The recipe varied wildly depending on what explosive materials were available. Some crews added sulfur for extra kick. Others threw in whatever chemicals they had lying around. It was like Russian roulette, but with beverages. What's fascinating is how this dangerous drink represented the pirate mentality perfectly. Resourceful, reckless, and completely over the top. They took something as simple as rum and turned it into a test of manhood that could literally kill you. Speaking of drinks, that pushed boundaries. Pirates also had their softer side when it came to beverages that reminded them of home. Now here's where things get interesting, and a bit fuzzy around the edges. Lamb's wool wasn't your typical pirate drink. Think of it as the maritime equivalent of your grandmother's holiday punch, except made by guys who hadn't seen civilization in months. This concoction involved ale, roasted apples, nutmeg, and whatever spices pirates could get their grubby hands on. Everything got cooked together until it resembled something between soup and alcohol. The result? Well, let's just say it looked about as appetizing as dishwater, but with chunks floating in it. Pirates didn't whip up lamb's wool every Tuesday, though. Fresh ingredients at sea were rarer than honest politicians. Apples? Good luck finding those after 3 months in the Caribbean sun. The drink was more of a coastal special or something they'd attempt after raiding a merchant vessel carrying actual food. But here's the thing about pirates. They were masters of improvisation. No apples? They'd toss in whatever fruit hadn't turned completely rotten. Missing nutmeg? Some other random spice would do. The recipe became more like pirate jazz. Lots of improvisation, not much structure, and nobody really knew how it would turn out. Makes sense, right? When you're floating around in a wooden box for months, any connection to normal life feels like winning the lottery. Lamb's wool represented something beyond mere survival. It tasted like home, assuming home was a tavern where nobody cleaned the mugs properly. Then there's the psychological angle. These weren't exactly men known for their emotional intelligence, but even the toughest sea dog needed something to remind him of better times. Lamb's wool did that job, even if the apples were actually questionable tropical fruits and the ale had seen better decades. The drink carried supposed spiritual significance too. Pirates, being a superstitious bunch, shocking, I know, believed certain concoctions brought good luck. Whether lamb's wool actually improved their fortune is debatable, but it certainly improved their mood. And when you're about to storm another ship with nothing but a rusty sword and questionable life choices, mood matters. What made this drink truly special wasn't its taste or health benefits. It was pure adaptability in action. Pirates took a civilized drink from proper society and turned it into whatever they could manage, with ship rats as sous chefs and seawater as their only cleaning agent. The heavily modified versions bore little resemblance to the original, but that wasn't the point. Pirates weren't trying to win any culinary awards. They were trying to stay sane, stay lucky, and maybe remember what it felt like to be human beings instead of floating criminals. But if you think lamb's wool sounds refreshing, wait until you hear about the drink that actually made pirates feel cool under pressure, literally. You know what's funny about pirates? We always picture them guzzling rum straight from the bottle like some kind of nautical frat party. But here's the thing. When you're stuck on a wooden boat under the Caribbean sun for months, the last thing you want is more heat burning down your throat. Enter the pirate's swizzle. And no, this isn't your grandmother's church social drink. This beautiful concoction started life on Caribbean sugar plantations, where workers mixed rum with sugar and whatever spices they could get their hands on. Smart folks, those plantation workers, they figured out how to make the brutal heat bearable. Pirates, being the opportunistic bunch they were, took one sip and thought, well, this beats drinking liquid fire. But here's where it gets interesting. The magic wasn't just in the ingredients, it was in the method. Pirates would take a special swizzle stick, kind of like a tiny wooden whisk, and stir that drink like their lives depended on it. Round and round, faster than a ship's wheel in a storm. This wasn't just for show, mind you. All that frantic stirring created something remarkable. A light, frothy foam that actually cooled the drink down. It's like they invented the world's first cocktail aerator, except theirs was carved from Caribbean wood instead of bought from some fancy kitchen store. The cooling effect was pure genius when you think about it. These guys were dealing with temperatures that would make a modern air conditioning repairman weep. Heat stroke wasn't just uncomfortable, it was deadly. A properly made swizzle could literally be the difference between a functioning crew member and dead weight. Then there's the psychological edge nobody talks about. Picture this. You've been at sea for 2 months, eating hardtack that could double as boat repair material, and suddenly you're sipping something that actually tastes good and cools you down. It's like finding an oasis, except this one has a 4% alcohol content. Every port brought new variations too. Jamaica had different spices than Barbados. Trinidad added their own local flair. Pirates became accidental cultural ambassadors, spreading swizzle recipes faster than gossip at a small-town barbershop. Each crew developed their own signature version, like having a secret family recipe, except the family happened to be wanted by 3 different navies. The beauty of swizzle was its adaptability. Got cinnamon? Throw it in. Found some exotic bark that smells interesting? Why not? Pirates weren't exactly following FDA guidelines here. What made this drink truly special wasn't just its refreshing nature. It was how it connected these rough seafaring men to something civilized, something that reminded them of shore leave and better times. But if you think swizzle was sweet, wait until you hear about the drink that was basically liquid candy with a kick that could knock you into next week. If you thought the previous pirate drinks were rough, wait until you hear about Blackstrap. This concoction makes modern energy drinks look like fancy tea parties your grandmother would host. Picture thick, dark molasses mixed with water and whatever rum happened to be lying around. The result? A syrupy mess that looked like motor oil and tasted twice as sweet as a candy shop explosion. Pirates didn't drink this because it was delicious. They drank it because it kept them alive when everything else ran out. But here's where it gets interesting. That sickly sweet flavor everyone complained about, it was actually hiding something brilliant. When your ship's water barrel started tasting like they'd been filtered through a gym sock, blackstrap made even the foulest water drinkable. The molasses overpowered everything else, including the taste of whatever nasty creatures had taken up residence in the water supply. Think about it. These weren't exactly health-conscious individuals. Pirates would eat hardtack crawling with weevils and call it protein. So when they complained about blackstrap being too sweet, you know it was seriously overwhelming. The real genius wasn't in the taste, though. Molasses packed more calories per sip than almost anything else they could get their hands on. During those endless weeks at sea, when food supplies dwindled and everyone started looking a bit too skinny for comfort, blackstrap became their liquid salvation. One cup could provide enough energy to keep a grown man working the rigging for hours. And here's something most people don't realize. Pirates had direct connections to Caribbean sugar plantations. Not always through legal means, mind you. They'd raid these operations or trade with workers who had access to leftover molasses from sugar production. What plantation owners considered waste products, pirates turned into survival fuel. The beauty of molasses was its shelf life. Unlike fresh fruits or vegetables that would rot faster than a politician's promises, molasses could sit in barrels for months without going bad. Mixed with rum, it created a preservation system that would make modern food scientists jealous. Pirates would often trade other goods specifically to get their hands on molasses supplies. Some crews became so dependent on blackstrap that they'd alter their entire route just to hit ports where they could resupply. Smart captains knew that keeping their crew fed and energized meant the difference between a successful voyage and a mutiny. The thick consistency also meant a little went a long way. While regular grog might require several cups to get the same nutritional benefit, one serving of blackstrap could sustain a pirate through the toughest work shifts. Well, speaking of making the most of limited resources, there was one final drink that took pirate creativity to absolutely ridiculous levels. When pirates faced their darkest hour at sea, with supplies running dangerously low and death lurking around every wave, they turned to the most desperate concoction of all. Sea Dog's Elixir wasn't a drink you'd order at your local tavern. It was survival in liquid form. This wasn't some carefully planned recipe passed down through generations of seafaring folk. Hell no. This was whatever scraps remained in the ship's stores, thrown together with the desperation of hungry men who'd rather drink swill than die of starvation. Think of it as the world's first smoothie, except instead of kale and berries, you're getting moldy bread crusts and citrus rinds that have seen better decades. Pirates would take their remaining rum, always rum, because what's the point of dying sober? And mix it with bits of stale bread, any citrus peels they could scrape up, mysterious spices that had been rolling around the galley for months, and whatever else looked remotely edible. The result looked like something you'd find clogging a ship's drain. But here's where it gets interesting. While this revolting mixture could make a grown man weep, it actually kept pirates alive when everything else failed. Those soggy bread chunks, they provided crucial amino acids that prevented muscle wasting during long stretches without proper food. The citrus peels, even when they looked like leather wallets, still contained enough vitamin C to ward off scurvy's deadly embrace. One captain described it as drinking the ship itself, which honestly sounds about right. The texture alone was enough to make seasoned sailors question their life choices. Imagine trying to sip chunky dishwater while your ship rocks like a toddler's tantrum and you're getting close to the experience. Yet this kitchen sink approach to nutrition revealed something remarkable about pirate ingenuity. When faced with impossible odds, they didn't just lie down and accept defeat. They took scraps that most people would throw to the fish and turned them into life-saving medicine. It's like watching your grandfather fix a broken radio with a paperclip and pure stubbornness. The elixir's preparation became almost ritualistic during desperate times. Pirates would gather whatever remained from their dwindling stores, each contributing something to the communal pot of survival. That moldy hardtack you've been avoiding? Into the mix. Those lime rinds you were saving for who knows what? Down they went. Well, Sea Dog's Elixir might not win any taste contests, but it perfectly captured the pirate spirit. Resourceful, defiant, and absolutely refusing to go gentle into that good night. When you're floating in the middle of nowhere with nothing but ocean in every direction, sometimes the difference between living and dying comes down to your willingness to drink something that looks like it already died twice. These weren't just desperate measures. They were masterclasses in making the impossible work.